Welcome to the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts,
John Helmkamp,
Matthew Betz, and Matt Okada.
Oh my gosh. I feel so bad for anyone that wasn't just watching the intro there, or I should say is watching, because you can't see our faces during it. Okada was literally just flexing in the camera the entire time, and I have no idea why. Welcome into the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast. We're currently live on YouTube and on Periscope and Twitter. At Red Shirts FF Pod is the handle for that. And if you're watching on YouTube or on Periscope, you're like, man, there are three faces on this screen. I know two of them. The third one is not who I normally see. We have Jason Moore of the Fantasy Footballers with us today. Unfortunately, John could not be with us during the work hours, so we have Jason filling in. Jason, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up? I am doing fantastically busy. Life is well. Family's happy and healthy. Things are good. Today has been insane, and I'm so happy to be here with two of my favorite people out there.
Hey, we'll take it. And for our listeners who don't know, Okada and myself met writing for the Fantasy Footballers, Jason, Andy, Mike. So we will always be thankful for that opportunity. I, of course, still write for them. I made a good decision to stay on the team. Okada up and left. He just left us for some reason.
I went to work on that stage behind Jason. That's what I did.
That's right. That's right. But we got the three of us back together here. Super excited to talk football today and to talk about our bold predictions for the 2020 season. Guys, I want some spicy takes. Like, I want the fire. I want, like, not just like, this guy is going to be a top 12 running back. I want some good takes from you guys today. So I'm super excited to get into that. Before we do, this is the final reminder. We've been saying it for like 4 weeks straight. The Devontae Adams signed jersey giveaway ends tomorrow. If you're watching this live, if you're listening in your podcast app and it's Wednesday, it ends today. The details to get in that contest are at the pinned tweet on the show account at RedShirtsFF Pod. We've said it enough. If you missed it by now, I'm sorry, you're too late. All right, guys, let's get into a little bit of brief news, and then we're going to get right into the hot takes for today's show.
I got great news, guys. Oh, hey, news. Yes. News.
All right, fellas, the inevitable has happened. Of course, we've kind of been waiting for this potentially to come down as far as the news. Ezekiel Elliott is among other Cowboys and Texans players who have tested positive for COVID-19. And I don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about like what that specifically means for him, because it's early. It's still June. Of course, he could recover. He says he's doing well, which is great. But does this change your guys' draft strategy at all for 2020?
No. I'm going to say no. I mean, unless we hear otherwise, and Betz, correct me if I'm wrong, but anyone who has it now it's going to be gone by the time even training programs really kick into full gear, and certainly by the time the season rolls around. So that anyone who comes out now, I'm not too concerned about. If it's still going on when September hits, which is pretty likely at this point, I'm guessing, and we're seeing guys, crop up with it, that's going to take them out for a couple of weeks at least. So that will be more tough. But I don't think it changes the draft strategy because we can't know what's going to happen or how.
Yeah, I would say the only way that it changes draft strategy is if you want to take more of an approach of depth mattering this year, knowing that, there will be some players in fantasy football who get COVID. And when that happens, they're going to be out at least 2 weeks, maybe 3. So maybe that makes, we were talking about this on the Fantasy Footballers, maybe backups like a Chase Edmonds, we don't usually draft handcuffs, but maybe we do because there is an added layer of the possibility of players going down, not just to injury, but to injury or illness. And, in the case of Zeke, if anything, it makes him safer, right? Because if there are antibodies and he can't get it through the season, that's one thing removed for him to possibly come down with.
Yeah, that's a great point as far as the timeline. I mean, obviously right now the orders are basically like if you get this illness, you quarantine for 2 weeks, right? So that's kind of the timeline that we can assume is going to happen for this recovery. These players presumably are all in good health and should recover well. So we will see kind of what happens there as far as that's concerned. But more to come, I'm sure, throughout the season. Breaking news live here on the show. Some random dude just popped up in the studio right now. Okada, do we have an overlay for 4 people?
Yes. Let's try this. It won't have the right names, but let's try it.
That's It doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't even matter. Welcome to the show, Jarek Brown, aka Mike Wright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, what's up, dude?
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers, everybody.
Hijacking your show.
And in 3, 2, 1, here comes Andy. Just wait for it.
I don't have a 5-man overlay. I don't know if StreamYard can do that.
What's up, boys?
How you doing, man?
Look, everything is everything.
Yep, that's a pretty good summary.
How I can tell you this:
Well
my family is healthy. There.
That's good.
So, step 1.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Step 1, family is healthy. Step 2, hopefully you guys are staying healthy. Step 3, the Ballers are still crushing it. How are things going over at Ballers HQ? Are you guys more in the studio or at home, or what's kind of the deal these days?
So we're in there 2 days a week, and honestly, I mean, I'm very happy to talk about the Fantasy Footballers, but that's not why I came in here. We didn't come in to hijack your stream. We came in because you're friends of the show. I knew Jason was going on. I had nothing else on the docket, and like I've been doing this for whatever 20, 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes I don't have to go just be dad of the children.
Well, in that case, you're welcome. Guys, let's get into the next piece of news here, and this is kind of with injury. Bummer, man. Eagles guard Brandon Brooks tore his Achilles. This is the opposite Achilles of what he tore last year. He's going to miss the entire season. PFF's Eric Eager put this out on Twitter. There have only been 5 guard seasons graded in Pro Football Focus history that have been more valuable than Brandon Brooks last year. Fellas, what are we doing? Does this change the needle at all, so to speak, on Miles Sanders?
It did for me. I adjusted Miles Sanders. I adjusted Carson Wentz a little bit. The interception total going up. So I took a look at the Eagles. It wasn't a drastic move, but it matters. I mean, you can't. Too often the offensive line is thought of as an afterthought. When you go back and you look in hindsight and you're like, oh, Todd Gurley was great because they made giant improvements to their offensive line. Oh, Todd Gurley struggled because their offensive line was bad. This matters.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for me, he's currently RB11 at the end of a tier, so it's going to be tough for me to knock him down a tier. We will see how I feel about that by the time my full projections are done and I, slide those into the rankings, but I don't know. He's going to be on that fringe.
Now, Matt, when you are finding time for projections, like I guess I should phrase, how do you find time for the projections with all the swashbuckling that you are doing?
Here's the thing. It's a swashbuckling in the day, projections at night.
Okay, but that's burning the candle on both ends. I mean, that's dangerous.
It's
going to get you.
Swashbuckling in general is dangerous. I live on the edge. What can I say?
The most difficult part of doing this podcast is 100% the fact that there is video, because your facial hair, Okada, is a thing of another era. It is unbelievable. Not many people can rock what you're rocking on your face, but it's
and have the confidence for a tank top.
Yeah, especially with this tank top tan that I've got going on here that is a different shaped tank top. This is not working out at all.
Do you not wear regular shirts?
No.
What is happening up there?
Get him out of here.
You try swashbuckling in a full t-shirt, Mike.
That's an excellent point. I have just turned into a logo. Oh, I'm back.
There we go.
That's an excellent point, Jason. That I think that it's like the puffy shirt. You swashbuckle in a puffy shirt for range of motion.
Yeah, that's true.
Now everyone has the wrong name.
Guys,
this is great. No, this is better. Let's keep it like this.
Just leave it. I got kicked from the studio. I'm back in. This is officially my favorite podcast already, and nothing has even happened as far as any absolute chaos is ensuing. Yes, guys, Okada literally doesn't ever wear anything that isn't a backwards hat and a tank top, and I presume some sort of 3/4 cut off pants on the bottom. I assume.
I respect that.
I wear pants.
Yeah, with his
I respect that too.
And with his peg on his leg.
Yeah, yes. Now your parrot is doing what at the moment?
Sleeping, because it's coming on nighttime now. So
Okay.
we switch from swashbuckling to projections.
Okay, now are you more of a cannon guy or a rapier type of a fella?
Cutlass. It's a
Oh,
cutlass.
cutlass.
Yeah,
A cutlass.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yeah.
Rapier is delicate. Get it out of here.
Too delicate. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Cut those rapiers in half with my cutlass.
How about
Pirate jokes.
He's an Oldsmobile guy, Mike. All right.
Betz, are you alive? I think Betz is frozen.
We lost Betz.
All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna direct this next question to John Helmkamp.
Oh, true.
Mm-hmm.
John, how are you feeling? What are we talking about on this show? Are we doing hot takes?
Well, right. We are talking about hot takes. Right now, we're talking about the Eagles and how they're falling apart.
Okay, so John, hot takes. Give it to me. Give it to me straight. Alshon Jeffrey, no timetable to return. There's no wide receivers. Why? When I selected Jalen Reagor at the end of the rookie draft, why was that the best pick of the first round?
Look, I was just saying I moved Miles Sanders and his rankings and Carson Wentz. I also adjusted Jalen Reagor, moved him way up, Alshon down. I expect Alshon to miss 6 games. I would say a lot of the reason for that is because of our man, Matt Okada, who's an injury expert up here. And I mean, his Alshon write-up is very telling, and I think he will start the season on the pup.
Yeah,
very
and
interesting.
Even when he does come back, this is an old, hobbled Alshon Jeffrey. I don't know if he ever comes back 100% this season. Jalen Reagor's, I might have to consider switching him and Justin Jefferson in terms of this season rookie value. Who am I going to draft? Because I've been hard on Justin Jefferson, but this might change it.
I love to hear it. Do you guys have any Reagor shares?
Mm-mm.
I got a few.
Man.
I got some Jefferson shares. Of course, Matt Okada has a few. He's an Eagles fan.
Yeah. Hey. The worst part about this is we often get questions when people kind of tune in and they're like the first time listeners are like, which one of you is Betz? Which one of you is Okada? This is going to go so well for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
It's me, Derek.
I cannot wait.
I can change my voice if you guys want me to.
Yeah, let's hear what that would sound like.
It's me, Derek.
Hey,
everybody.
That sounds like Brooks.
If you wanted to go full, if you wanted to go full Derek, you would go with the huge Louisiana drawl, because that's what he actually sounds like.
Has he got a lower voice? Has he got a lower voice?
No, that's in the middle, I'd say.
In the middle, yeah.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Derek. Derek. D-bro_FFB.
Oh my
Perfect. Nailed it.
I don't know, Derek. What's up, Derek?
Oh my gosh, we are completely off the rails. We got to kick it back to Mike, okay? We got to kick it back to Mike because we're gonna go right into the bold predictions.
Ooh.
And he said he might not be here that much longer. He said he only can stay for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Mike, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Hit me with a bold prediction for 2020.
I don't know if you are. Do you guys have like music? Do you got sound effects? Because this one's hot.
I think you're making them.
Oh, yeah, you're
well,
in charge.
the problem is I can't give my take and give my Cuba bean. Thank you.
There it is.
Antonio Gibson will be a league-winning running back.
Oh, wow.
That's right. I said it.
With the shoulder shrugs, I don't know if I can even handle that. Give us a little bit of rationale. Why is that?
All right. Step 1. Take 5 minutes. Go Google Antonio Gibson highlights. Then and tell me this player can't play in the NFL. And if you try to say that to me, I'll say you're dumb. You're wrong. You didn't watch the film. He is incredible. His path has been arduous and has taken a while. Look, you can look at, well, why does he only really have 1 year of production? Look, the guy had problems. The guy had grade problems. He had to go to JUCO right out of high school. And then he was so good, he got his way right to a D1 school. Unfortunately, That school included Tony Pollard and Darrell Henderson, two guys who were drafted into the NFL, who are having success in the NFL. So my apologies if rookie to that school wasn't able to earn playing time behind two eventual NFL players. You go and you watch him playing, his limited touches, but he still just is absolutely crushing. He look at his body type. He's ginormous, and yet he is still an absolute athletic freak. He is a running back that can catch passes just like a wide receiver because he has played both positions. Who does that remind you of? Oh, maybe his name is David Johnson, who when he was coming out, that was the thing that was touted. He was a wide receiver turned into a running back because of his body type. Let's add in on that. Let's keep the narrative going. Draft day, Ron Rivera whispers the name. He reminds me of Christian McCaffrey. Let's keep it going. Who's calling plays for this team? Well, Ron Rivera is involved. Also, offensive coordinator, who is the son of Norv Turner, who is the legendary one running back coach who saw Christian McCaffrey and LT hit the best possible fantasy seasons that a running back can possibly hit. And that's why okay, let's keep going. Let's keep moving this train forward. Who is in front of Antonio Gibson right now?
About 5 to 80 people who aren't that good, but a lot.
Okay, I would disagree with the amount of people that are in front of him, but I won't disagree with your take on the talent. I do think Darius Geis is good. I do believe that if Darius Geis is healthy, he will actually be a good NFL running back. But it's up against it, man. The probability is not with Darius Geis. You do not go into your third year having basically done nothing in the NFL and then amount to something. He has the ability, but that's it. To me, Darius Geis is the only player in front of Antonio Gibson. I do not consider Adrian Peterson in front of Antonio Gibson. I don't consider Peyton Barber to be in front of Antonio Gibson. Like, the path is very clear. Even if the team isn't great, let's keep the train moving further. And you're like, well, if Terry McLaurin is going to be good for fantasy, how can Antonio Gibson possibly be good at the same time on a team that projects to be pretty bad? You know who was not great? The Carolina Panthers. That did not stop DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey from being awesome for fantasy purposes. I stand by it. Antonio Gibson, by the end of the year, will be a league winner.
Wow.
That's a lot to unpack because the train just kept going and going.
Once the train hits full momentum,
it's so far away I can barely see it.
That's
so with that
fine.
being said, Mike,
and that's the okay. Here you go. That's the problem with the train. When the barriers come down, you're like, what is going? This is so stupid. I don't even see it. Whoa! I'm glad I didn't go across because that train would have killed me. And that's what's happening with Antonio Gibson. Where am I taking him in drafts?
Mike, where are you taking Antonio Gibson in drafts?
Define drafts. Redraft, rookie drafts.
Redraft.
2020.
Will you take him?
In redrafts? Heck yes, I will take Antonio Gibson. I will take him because I can take him with my last pick or my second to last pick, where it doesn't matter if he hits on week 1. Like, Antonio Gibson will be hard for me because if I take him with my last pick and it doesn't work out week 1, I'm probably not going to drop him. If it doesn't work week 2, I'm probably not going to drop him. But that's just my belief in the player. For most players out there, if Gibson doesn't hit week 1, it's fine. It's no big deal. You can drop him and move on.
Wow.
Fair enough. All right, that's a good way to start
hot.
this.
Yes, it was definitely hot.
Okada wanted to do. We're going to rate it from 0 or 1 to 10.
Yeah, this was a 10 on Heat.
How
and
hot?
A 1 on It Could Happen.
Oh, you got. I can't wait.
It's not a 1. It's not a 1.
Schedule me on on a show 1 year from now when you're like Antonio Gibson, 2nd round pick.
Well, the nice thing is, all he has to do is be a consistent starter at some point, and he could help you win considering the draft price. So the expectation doesn't have to be super high.
That's true.
All right, John / Jason, you're up, my friend. We got.
All right, so I'm not going quite as far down in the list as
Julio
Antonio
Jones is going to be really good.
Oh man, you spoiled it. But
That was your voice.
I do think Julio Jones is going to be good this year.
True.
He's going to be a top 10 wide receiver in his conference. And I
Sign me up for that one too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take the layup. No, I believe that Marquise Hollywood Brown will lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns in
Hollywood.
2020. I see him as the same, overall upside minus a little bit of the passing volume that Tyreek Hill has. Hollywood Brown is a guy who in college was unbelievable. You just watch the highlight after highlight. When I was scouting Baker Mayfield, before Hollywood was, a name on my radar because I'm not a college guy, I just kept going, who is this guy? His routes were excellent. His speed was otherworldly. And then he gets injured. And while injured is a first-round draft pick. Dealt with injury last year because, that's the world that he was living in. And he still dominated. I mean, he didn't play that many snaps. You look at last year, and you've got the middle of the season where he's 40% of snaps, 39% of snaps. But look to where they really need him. Look to the playoffs, right? When it's like, okay, we've been resting him. Now he gets 11 targets, 7 receptions, 126 yards. And now he's coming into year 2 with the MVP of the league throwing him the ball, and not a lot of competition. It's Mark Andrews and Hollywood. So to me, I think that Hollywood he's going to be one of the type of players where you're going to get 4 or 5 or 6 long bomb touchdowns that you can't predict on a weekly basis, but they're going to be there. And I also think his speed and route running is going to be able to be used around the goal line. So you're going to sell out to stop the run because that's what you have to do with the Ravens. And it reminds me, the Andrews and Hollywood reminds me a lot of the Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I believe in the talent. I believe in the quarterback. I believe in the offense. And the great news is Hollywood is not an expensive prospect right now. Draft-wise, dynasty-wise, I still think he is a buy low, even for the owners that got excited with some of the things you saw on the field because he was on and off the field in his rookie season.
Okada doesn't like it. Okada does not like it.
So here's the thing that you need to know ahead of time is you brought a hot Marquise Brown take into a Marquise Brown hating podcast. We are not fans almost across the board, but let's just set aside the general Marquise Brown hate. Here's my only issue. The year that Tyreek Hill had 12 touchdowns, which still didn't lead the league, but it was close to it, his quarterback threw 50.
Mm-hmm.
So,
fair point.
Like Lamar Jackson,
Lamar's going to throw 51.
No, he's not. There's no way Lamar Jackson throws more than 35.
Let me ask you this: who threw the most touchdowns in the NFL last year?
He did, but it was a lot less than
Lamar
50.
Jackson, wasn't it?
Yes, but 36? It was like 32.
So 32, and how many did
32.
Hollywood Brown have last year?
Like
with
his or 7. I want to say 7.
So he threw the most in the league in limited work with a busted foot. Mr. Okada, can you please give me the prognosis for someone returning from he had a Jones fracture? Am I correct?
No, he had the Liz Frank surgery.
Oh, yeah, the Liz Frank. Yeah, the Liz Frank.
I always get those confused too.
Yeah.
So give me the prognosis.
Every other show.
Should he have done what he did, recovering from a Liz Frank injury?
No. And that's why in the rookie process, the rookie scouting process, Okada and I both said, stay away early. It's probably not going to be, year one is probably not going to be it for him. We still think he's got the speed and he's explosive, but that injury takes that away. And we just talked about it with Alshon Jeffrey. It's better prognosis for younger players, but we know back on the field, the first season is always worse than the second season.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, maybe.
Now, is this coming season the first season? Then,
or is it the second one?
I am actually a little worried now. No, it's
the
not.
One, it's the second.
The one was the first bad season was the one he just was like really good at. Okay, cool. Oh, these are interesting takes.
Cool. This is the first most recent season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see that he's going to be healthy because the version we saw last year was not his peak And so it's interesting to both say that you two are two of my favorite people in the industry that, are doing your thing outside of the fantasy footballers, and yet also know that this is an anti-Hollywood Brown podcast, because those two things, they don't.
How many does he need?
They don't connect in my heart.
How many does he need? Yeah, to pull this off.
I think 12 can get it done. I mean, last year you
Okay.
only had 2 players that had double-digit receiving touchdowns, and when Pat Mahomes threw 50, you had so many of those little tap pass. Kareem Hunt had 7 touchdowns.
Oh yeah,
it's
tap
like,
pass.
oh, you got to tap that.
Tap
pass.
tap that
Marquise
pass.
could get some of those, to be fair.
Good, actually.
Yeah,
Those
Marquise.
count.
Yeah, I will say in redraft, I'm actually kind of rising on Hollywood Brown, and it's because of the fact that there's no one else there to catch the football. Now, obviously, the efficiency from Lamar last year was ridiculous with the 9% touchdown rate. That's coming down.
Mhm.
But if the offense isn't going to run the ball as much as they did last year, which how could they? They ran the ball literally every single play. Yeah, I mean, as like your wide receiver 3, an upside flex play, wide receiver 3 every week, I'll take it. I just don't know when it's going to come, and that's the tricky part.
And when you say no one's there to catch the ball, I do not that I want to tout him for fantasy purposes, but
Willie Snead.
no, not well. One Willie Snead, yeah, he's got the need, but no,
True.
a 3rd round pick last year who was an absolute. You go look at his athletic measurables, and the bars break the charts. Miles Boykin, man, and he did absolutely nothing. Maybe he's just a bust in the NFL, or maybe Marquise Brown gets it together. Maybe Miles Boykin gets it together, and all of a sudden we're talking about the Lamar Jackson touchdown regression that's going to happen in 2021 because we all look really stupid that he repeats in 2020.
We shall see. We had a live comment come in from Steve DZ7.
Oh, what's up, Steve?
Hot. He says
yes.
3 hots, so I think that's a 10 on the hot scale.
Yep.
For that.
And clearly Steve is talking about my Antonio Gibson take because
Well, that one is very spicy.
is
It is.
spicy.
That is the hottest.
I don't actually know
All right.
which one's spicier so far, but
We'll see. Okada,
Okay.
our show doc literally says under your name, it says something about a team ... So
ooh,
say something
you
about
wanna
a
go
team.
with that one. All right. You want to go with that one? All right. So this is actually my pivot because one of my other prepped bold predictions, it turns out Jason had taken from me.
Oh, really?
We didn't look at each other's beforehand, and so I made a prediction that is going to be one of yours, but we'll get to it maybe. So this one is very relevant to our guests because it's about a certain team that they are fans of. So there will only be one team in 2020 that has a QB1, an RB1, and a wide receiver 1, and it's the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this
Okay.
is bold for 2 reasons. Number
I'm
one,
listening.
that's a relatively low number. 2 years ago, there were 5 teams that did this. Last year, there was only one. It was the Cowboys, but the Chiefs, the Ravens, Saints, Seahawks, Browns, and Packers all barely missed it by 1 player. The Seahawks, Tyler Lockett missed wide receiver 1 by 1 spot. So that was really, really close. So only getting 1 team is not that common. But the real reason I feel like it's hot is because of the teams that I'm kind of cutting out and putting the Cardinals in. So obviously we know Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Kenyon Drake. Those are the guys. I don't even think it's very hot to say that they're all going to be ones at their respective positions.
It's hot if you look at my rankings.
Mine either. But here's where I'm getting a little spicier. So Packers, Aaron Jones falls out of RB1 territory, if he's even there now for most people. Browns, Nick Chubb, and Baker Mayfield don't make it. I think a lot of people would have both of those guys in there. Chiefs, no RB1. You guys can get out of here with your CEH love. I've already allowed the Marquise Brown talk. No on CEH.
One of my bold
That's
predictions.
the hill.
One of my bold predictions that I had written down that I just deleted for the show was that Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be a draft day bust for 2020.
Oh, nice.
Because
There we
I do think right now where he's going versus how he's going to start the season, it's not going to work out.
You
All right.
guys are not thinking about fantasy football in totality. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire could get the starting position in week 7 and end up as a running back 1.
Yeah, for your non-playoff team. Enjoy sitting on the outside and being like, but he was so good at the end.
I'm just saying that's
I will trade for him and I will.
I don't hate that.
I'm saying that
I like that.
a person
Same thing with
who
Jonathan
can
Taylor.
a person who can take over in week 7 and finish the year as a running back 1 is not a draft day bust. They're very, very inconsistent, but you cannot possibly call someone who finishes in the top 10 a bust.
He still has to take the job exclusively and then dominate with it.
He doesn't have to take it exclusively. Jamal Charles almost never had the job exclusively.
But he was the clear bell cow.
Was he?
Isn't that what a
Yes,
that's what a bell
that's
cow
where
is?
he played like little complimentary things.
Was he?
I think so.
I mean, would you call Alvin
So
Kamara a
confident.
bell cow? Because he's going to get 200 carries and all the receiving work.
Alvin Kamara was a bell cow last year.
Then
Yes.
Jamal Charles was a bell
Not
cow.
in,
No, last year. But when Mark Ingram was there, Alvin Kamara was not a bell cow.
but the Chiefs never had a Mark Ingram. They had Spencer Ware. That's not the same.
I'm just saying, go look at the snaps.
All right,
All right.
sorry, I interrupted on the.
Well, okay, there's only a couple teams left. Cowboys miss on wide receiver. No wide receiver makes into wide receiver 1 territory, although I have another hot take about that as well. Saints miss on quarterback. Drew Brees doesn't make it. Panthers miss on quarterback. If you guys want to throw another team at me, feel free. But those are the top offense I think are going to miss.
Ooh,
Cardinals are the only
Teddy
one.
Bridgewater, not top 12 quarterback.
Yeah, he doesn't
That's
make
hot
it.
take, man.
Sorry.
That's a 1, Okada, on the hot scale there. How do the Cowboys not have a wide receiver 1?
Oh, we'll get there. Don't
all right,
you
I'll
worry.
pause.
I'll save that for my next one.
because we know what Amari Cooper is, and Mike knows best. I mean, it's his guy.
I know who he is.
In the
I'm
lineup,
afraid
he's out of the lineup.
I'm
but it
afraid
doesn't
that
matter.
other
At the end
people
of the
don't know
year-
who he is, though.
Yes, at the end of the year, he will be a wide receiver 1. So
He is
yes, Okada.
who he says he is.
It's relatively hot. I think it's like a 4 though, man. I don't think it's that hot.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right.
All right.
What do
My
you got?
bold prediction. The show doc says Russell Wilson season, and of course it's spelled like the cool kids spell it, SZN, because I hear that's cool nowadays. Fellas, Russell Wilson's finishing as the quarterback 1 this year. Now it's not that hot from he's never done it before, because he did it. It was just a few years ago. And if I pull up the consistency charts in the Fantasy Footballers Ultimate Draft Kit, we see that he was the quarterback 1 in 2017. So it wasn't that long ago, right? But now everyone is saying Lamar Jackson. Everyone's saying Pat Mahomes. Everyone loves Dak this year. Kyler's coming up. And Russell Wilson's just sitting there like, you know what, guys? I was quarterback 4 last year, and my offensive coordinator literally just dragged me backwards. He grabbed my jersey and he just dragged me backwards. But this running back room is hurt, and it is injured, and this defense is bad. It is going to be the worst defense. Well, he's going to try. DJ Dallas, 25 carries a game. This defense is going to be the worst it's been in the last decade, guys. I could honestly see Russell Wilson coming out, setting the world on fire this year, throwing touchdown passes to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, whoever's playing tight end. He's going to take over. I think he might win MVP this year, guys.
I
MVP
love
winner
I love
and the quarterback 1.
I love the take of saying, over Lamar Jackson, over Pat Mahomes. That seems spicy and impossible. I would definitely say it's worthy, even though he's done it before. In today's day and age, I would be, this season, I would be very surprised if it happens. So I guess that makes it bold.
I'd also be curious what his rushing numbers were that year, because he does not rush as much as he used to.
That's true.
Let's see.
Yeah.
2017, you said, was the year?
The team, 2017, the year that happened, the Seahawks ranked 23rd in rush yards per game as a team. And obviously, the last 2 years, they were top 6. So this only works if the run game doesn't work, which
he rushed for
there's injuries,
586 that year with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
And last 2 years, he was in the mid 300s. So with Lamar out there now rushing, and Kyler, and Dak and Mahomes' yards and touchdown upside, I don't see this being possible. I think it's more likely he wins MVP, although I don't think the Seahawks are going to be very good. Well, they're going to be all right, but they're not going to be like top playoff team, which is usually what it takes to get MVP.
I mean,
It's
if
hot.
they make it to the playoffs and they win a game or 2, it's going to be because of Russ.
He could. Yes,
It's
that's
not
true.
going to be because of this defense. So that's
No.
the basis for this take. Mike, we can go back to you, man. Do you have a second one planned?
I have a second one, and you guys will get a sneak preview because this is the next episode of the Fantasy Footballers, which we are recording tomorrow. So, Jason, I apologize. You'll get to hear me get impassioned about this take 2 days in a row.
Oh, thank you for the apology.
I'm going to expect very good acting on the next show, though.
So,
Jason.
well, because...
Wow. What?
So, well, here's the thing. Tomorrow is just like a breakout show. So for me to say that this player is a breakout, but now we're in hot take. So, okay, let's take this one to a hot take. Daniel Jones will be a top 8 fantasy quarterback in 2020.
I know Beth likes this one.
All right, so he went from breakout now to top 8, which is higher than I have him ranked. But here's the thing about Daniel Jones. In the last 10 years, rookie quarterbacks that have played at least 10 games and have averaged 250 passing yards: Andrew Luck, Baker Mayfield, Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, Daniel Jones. And yes, I'm removing his week 1 when he came in and he played 5 snaps. I'm not holding that against him in games played. But Andrew Luck, Cam, Winston. Yes, Baker had a bad last year, but that's a pretty solid group of quarterbacks to be associated with. He was on pace for over 4,000 yards. He had a pace of 365 rushing yards, and because he only had 12 starts, but his pace was 365 rushing yards. That would have been tied for the 13th most rushing yards by a rookie quarterback in history. In 12 starts, his 24 passing touchdowns, 4th all time in 12 starts. His pace was 32. That would have smashed the rookie record. He would have been the only rookie quarterback to ever throw for over 30 touchdowns. Now, he also joined Deshaun Watson as the second rookie quarterback to have 3 games with 4 or more passing touchdowns. That shows you burst scoring. That shows you ceiling. And that doesn't even count the game when Daniel Jones had 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. According to a tweet from Daniel Jeremiah, if a team lines up in 11 personnel, which is pretty basic, that's 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. Did you guys realize that the Giants, by 40-yard dash, would have the fastest set of skill players in the NFL, faster than Kansas City, based on the 40-yard dash? The guys that he has around him. And here's the thing. Daniel Jones had incredible success as a rookie for fantasy purposes. This is all we're talking about. I don't care about his real life. He played with his 3 wide receivers of Darius Slayton, Golden Tate, and Sterling Shepard, the 3 starters, 4 times. 4 of his 12 games, he actually had all 3 starting wide receivers active. And that doesn't even count. That does not even count Evan Ingram. And their defense sucks. They were the 30th worst last year. And who are their big additions? James Bradbury, the 75th rated DB by Pro Football Focus. Congratulations. Blake Martinez, 58th, the 58th rated
that's an
linebacker.
Upgrade over DeAndre Baker, man.
But what I'm saying is the defense sucks. They're going to have to score points. Daniel Jones can score points. He's surrounded by talent. I wanted to just label him a breakout, but because we're here on a hot take show, I'll bump it up. I will say that Daniel Jones, by the end of the year, will be a top 8 fantasy quarterback.
My main question is, what is your belief in Darius Slayton?
What is my belief? Define the question a little bit further, my friend.
How much do you like him? Because Barkley and Ingram is nice for those positions, but at wide receiver...
What do you mean? Golden Tate is unbelievably... No, that's exactly my point. Golden Tate is so underrated as a football player. As a football player and a fantasy asset. Golden Tate, to me, is great. Nobody on this team is a 1, but that doesn't matter because the whole what is the cliche? The sum is greater than the parts.
Yeah,
something like that.
No. The whole is greater than
the sum of the parts. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's no number one, but you don't need a number one when everyone on your team is really, really freaking fast. And Saquon Barkley is the relief valve. If Evan Engram can possibly play 16 game, which is, I get it, that is a great hypothetical. But if he does, if Evan Engram plays 16 games, he's a top 3 fantasy tight end. In my opinion, because he is talented in ways that other tight ends just are not. He's surrounded by speed. He's surrounded by a situation where he's going to have to throw the ball a ton, and he can just let the wide receivers do the work.
I will say this: I don't believe this is going to happen. Like I don't watch Daniel Jones and think he is great. I haven't seen anything to say, wow, I'm putting my faith in him. However, statistically, you've brought up good points, but the 3 games that Saquon missed, Daniel Jones was on pace for like 16. I mean, obviously a 3-game sample, very small, but like 16 touchdowns and a million interceptions. Once he came back week 7 and on, and Saquon was back, he was on a 16-game pace of 38 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Much better with him back there. So that's some ammunition in your camp.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley, very good at football.
That is not hot. That is definitely
hot
cold.
as my Julio Jones take.
Mike, I love it, man. I've been telling Okada and the real John that they are dinguses for keeping him outside of their QB1 rankings this year. I totally believe top 8 is realistic. I don't even think it's that hot. That's how much I believe that this could happen. To me, he is guaranteed to be a top 12 option. That's where I feel with Daniel Jones. Again, assuming health, assuming 16 games, yada, yada. But I like it quite a bit. All right, Jason, back to you, man. Hit us with your second bold prediction.
All right, I'm going to go with what I believe was the one that I am not the only one in the room who believes this bold prediction, but Cam Akers will be the best rookie running back this season. This is, look, you have Todd Gurley, who's been an absolute beast, obviously, for fantasy, on a Sean McVay-led offense, and he's gone. What do? They didn't have a first. Their first pick was Cam Akers. They took their draft capital and said, we need a replacement, what does that say about what they had in Darrell Henderson? What does it say about what they had in Malcolm Brown? And you look at Darrell Henderson. And
says they like to waste draft picks on running backs.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they wasted it on Darrell Henderson, but they don't have the choice this year. There's just no one else there. Those are the 3 guys. And so, when you're talking about a player who in Cam Akers was exceptionally talented in college, I mean, you watch what he was able to make out of, nothing. And his burst, his speed, his ability to take a hit and find a hole and still get through it. I think he matches up great for what they're doing. And you compare it to year 1 rookie values of Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you're saying, okay, well, I'm not sure they're the guy. I think the pathway for a week 1 workhorse role is as good with Cam Akers as it is with anybody else. I don't think they love Darrell Henderson, and Malcolm Brown is as jag as a guy has ever been. He's just a guy back there. So Cam Akers, he's got experience with a bad offensive line. If he comes in and is in that Todd Gurley role, which I think the probability of that, I don't have him statted for that role, but I think the probability is far from 0. Like that, he's got a legitimate shot to come out and be a workhorse back from week 1. If that happens, he will easily be the running back 1 as a rookie in 2020. So I think Cam Akers will be the best running back for fantasy in year 1.
Yeah, this is definitely the one that that you stole from me, we'll call it, or that I tried to steal from you and failed. I had it written as he'll score more fantasy points than Gurley did last year in this offense, and more than Gurley will score this year in Atlanta. Listen, this is the most running back friendly offense that we have seen for the past several years. I mean, you look at, did Christian McCaffrey have one of the best seasons ever last year? Yes. But that's mostly because he is who he is, and all you have to do is get the ball to him, and there's incredibly easy to get the ball to him. In LA, Sean McVay has shown an ability to set running backs up to score touchdowns and therefore fantasy points better than anyone. Cam Akers is going to have the opportunity at double-digit touchdowns as a rookie. I don't even think that's too hot at all. And I do think he takes the lead job very, very quickly. Maybe not to the degree Gurley's had over the past couple of years right out of the gate, but pretty close to it. And the other important thing is I think everybody's concerned about the offensive line because it fell off a cliff last year. 2 years ago, it was elite. Last year was terrible. They dealt with some injuries last year. They've also added some young guys in the past couple years, including trading for Austin Corbett midway through last season. I think that it bounces back to middle of the road at worst, and it just kind of evens out to where it should be, and that helps boost that offense all the more. So I love it. A 10 on the it could happen scale.
Mike shakes his head no. I tend to fall in the middle, so I'm going to go to you, Mike. What do you think?
It certainly could happen. Like of the rookie running backs where they have landed, what the place that's the most ambiguous, is that a word? Ambiguous. There we go.
There it is.
Ambiguous. It's the Rams, but I don't know. I mean, are they gonna throw in the towel on Darrell Henderson? Probability says that they will. You spend a 3rd round pick on a guy that can't get on the field at all, sure, but I'm concerned, and it's all. Todd Gurley was a touchdown mirage last year, and touchdowns are just not sticky whatsoever. If you have 857 rushing yards and you come through with 12 rushing touchdowns,
you must be in the Rams offense.
Sure. I'm Team McVay. I believe in Sean McVay. I believe that he is one of the better offensive minds in the league and can get it done. But to make this bet of rookies when in the realm of possibilities is Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the starting running back for Kansas City week 1. We're doing realms of possibility here. If they're both the starters week 1, then I'm going with Clyde.
I would too in that scenario. If you're telling me he's locked in as the week 1 starter, then yes, I definitely am in on Clyde. Jason, real quick, where do you have those two backs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Cam Akers, in your rookie rankings?
Well, I think the draft capital of the first round puts Clyde Edwards-Helaire higher for sure. I would have to look that up because probability says that Clyde Edwards-Helaire and that offense is going to be, with the draft capital given, he's going to take over at some point in time. I think if memory serves, I've got him in, up near 15. And with Cam Akers, I don't have him ranked there. I don't have him statted. I have him statted out in a timeshare. So he's going to be down in probably running back 30. But if he takes over that role, I think he's going to be perfect for it.
Alrighty. Good discussion there on the Rams. Also, shout out to the GM and just what they're doing. Like, this team is screwed in 2 years, man. They're going all in, taking a running back and a wide receiver in the 2nd and 3rd rounds when this defense is scary. It's not going to be good.
They're good.
All right, Okada, back to you.
Pay for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okada, back to you, man. We're going back to the Cowboys with this one.
We are. Yeah. All right. So this is where I come in with my answer to your question.
Outscores Amari Cooper.
Okay.
So hot. That's so hot.
It's so hot right now.
No, it's not.
No, that's not hot.
That's a lukewarm bath.
Okay.
I mean, if you look on a per game basis last year, it was already close.
Okay, so the full thing is Michael Gallup outscores every receiver on the Cowboys and finishes as a top 14 receiver. Not top 12. He's just outside it, which is why the Cowboys thing doesn't work. But okay, you guys aren't saying it's that hot, so I guess I don't have to convince you too much. Betts, how are you feeling about this?
I mean, I podcast with you multiple times a week, so we talk about Michael Gallup quite a bit. And so just from that, I feel like I'm rising on Gallup. But in all honesty, we were texting about it the other night, and I was going through projections for the Cowboys, and I was like, man, I forgot Randall Cobb had over 800 yards last year. So all this CeeDee Lamb hype and all that, he can have 800 yards. Michael Gallup's still going over 1,100 this year. And so I'm rising on him. But I think in general, this is a group of relatively smart football minds, so to speak. But the general consensus is that Amari Cooper is going to be way ahead.
He goes camping. He pulls out his lighter and gets the bonfire going. He's like, "Oh, Look what I have done.
I have made fire.
Look at this.
We're like,
okay,
yeah,
so-
congratulations.
So I think, to Betts' point, I think that smart people in this industry don't think this is that hot. But if you said this to somebody who's drafting and hasn't looked at anything until August, it would be crazy. So I'll just break it down, and then you guys can do all your agreeing with me, since you know it's a great idea. And it's probably actually going to happen. So last year, to Jason's point, Cooper averaged 0.2 fantasy points more than Gallup on a per-game basis. Gallup played 2 fewer games. If he had played 16, he might have just outscored him completely. And over the latter half of the year, after, this was his second season. In the latter half of the year, Gallup outperformed Cooper in targets, in yards, in touchdowns, 2.5 more fantasy points per game than Cooper had. Now he's entering year 3, classic breakout season, even though he already broke out. He was better in year 2 than Amari Cooper was in year 2. And to anybody concerned about CeeDee Lamb and all the talent on this team, with Cobb and Witten gone, and Betts, you mentioned how good Cobb was last year, that's 166 targets up for grab. CeeDee Lamb is not getting 166 targets. So there is plenty.
Now when Jarwin's getting 120.
Oh, okay. Pass. Michael Gallup is maybe the real heat of this is in how likely I think it is to happen. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to end up ranking Gallup within like fewer than 10 spots of Cooper, I think, because I think this is so likely. And maybe by the time the season rolls around, I'll just say screw it and swap them entirely, because I think this is so likely. I think that Cooper is far too inconsistent. It's Michael Gallup's team now. I don't know what to tell you.
Now, that I think is the hot take, because
it's not Zeke's
no
team.
one else in general football thinks that, right? Everyone says Amari's the one, and when you look at like overall finish over the course of his career, it's been up and down, up and down, up and down. If you're saying Michael Gallup's going to be the most consistent wide receiver, then yes, I totally buy into that. If you're telling me Michael Gallup's going to have more fantasy points, then I'm saying maybe not this year. We'll see.
I don't, I totally understand the logic on a per game basis. They were so close last year anyways, but you brought it up, right? The second half of the year, Gallup was far better than Amari Cooper. It's just a matter of what you believe in Cooper. Mike believes that Cooper disappeared because that's who he is. That's what he does. I truly believe he was injured. I mean, there were games where we were watching him out there like a complete decoy. He could not, I mean, he's not even running a route. He's jogging and barely turning. And it's like, yeah, he was on the field in those games, so those count to his box score, but he wasn't the guy. And they just gave him $100 million, not for no reason. He is going to be the one. So while I think this is not that spicy because I love Michael Gallup, I'm not worried about the CeeDee Lamb coming in because of the vacated targets, that you mentioned. I don't think this has a high odds. I am on the Amari Cooper side for this year. I would be interested, Betts, where do you land injury wise? And I'm speaking to the real Betts, the labeled Okada, but the real Betts. Where do you land on the injury side? When it comes to Amari Cooper, what he went through last year, where he's at now.
Yeah, he definitely was not 100% in the second half of the year. There was a Monday Night Football game. I can't remember who it was against, but he was running a route going towards the left sideline, planted his foot in the ground, picked up an ankle injury. And from that point on, he just was not the same. Now, to what degree was he injured? I'm not sure. He was still out there, like you said, every week. So obviously it wasn't a massive major injury, but when you just watch him move, clearly you could tell he wasn't right. So yes, I think that was a huge factor as to why we saw him just fall off the face of the earth last year. And get subbed out in week 16 against the Eagles for the division title. Like, that wouldn't happen if he wasn't at least somewhat banged up, I think, or that's just the worst coaching we've ever seen. But regardless, yes, I think he was definitely at less than 100% in the second half of last year.
What about the other
guys?
four?
We are on to my second one.
What about who?
What about the other 4 years where Amari Cooper disappears for 50% of the season?
I blame Derek Carr.
Yeah, I can't.
It is who he is.
No injuries there.
He is who we thought he was. We kicked him to the curb and put in Michael Gallup. By the way, before Betts gives his final take, can we just reflect on the fact that Jason's background is from the 75th NFL draft, which is 2010, 10 years ago? How do you have this?
Thank you, internet. There were, it was hard to find an empty large enough graphic for background. This is, I'm doing incredible work over here.
Mm-hmm.
The best.
Fellas, Le'Veon Bell, he's good. He used to be great. He used to be elite.
Is he
but he's not. Well, we're not sure. He used to play on a good team and have a very good system
this could be
to be a part of. He was great for fantasy, but I don't think he's finishing as a top 24 running back this year. He's going to have the worst season
Did you just
of
go
his
with
career.
top? Did you just go? Wait. Okay.
He's
I'm sorry.
He's not
going
going
to
to.
be.
He's not going to finish as a running back.
Okay. All right. I thought you were going to say.
I was with you,
Lev
Mike.
Bell is a top 24 guy. It's like, is this a hot take show? What is happening?
I was with you because at first I thought he was going to make a pro Lev Bell argument. That's when I said, I think this could be spicy. Then he says top 24.
No.
And I was like, well, that's not spicy. No, he couldn't have said that. He had to have said he's not top 24.
All right. Okay.
Yes, he is not going to. Fellas, we know Adam Gase. We know what that does to an offense. We don't need to hit that home. But there's a quote that I just want to read from early May with this team. They said, quote, I do think we have some guys that can maybe help lessen the load on Bell to where it's not all on him. Hopefully we can get some of the younger backs to where we can make a good 1-2 punch to where we can really excel instead of feeling like it's just him all the time. End quote. Now, they talked about a younger running back. They drafted one in LaMichael Pirine. I'm not a huge fan, but they drafted him in the 4th round.
Let's go, Pirine, baby. On my
That's fine.
dynasty bench.
But you know what they did? They signed a not young running back in Frank Gore off the street who had more rush attempts inside the 10 than Marlon Mack, Saquon Barkley, Carlos Hyde, and Alvin Kamara last year. Le'Veon Bell is not going to find the end zone at all this year. If he's off the field more than he was last year, how is he going to produce? Guys, I don't see it this year.
Hold on, man. Please give me the Frank Gore efficiency numbers from carries inside the 10.
Hey, I don't think Adam Gase is smart enough to look at that and
That's
summarize it, so it might not matter.
I just need to hear him because I've heard people use this as an argument before, and I know what they are, but I want you to tell everybody what they are.
Well, I have to look it up. I didn't write that down. Can you tell me?
Do you know what they are offhand?
Yeah, do you know off the top of your head?
Let me look if I've actually.
Is what
They were so let's see. So Gore had 11 carries inside of the 5. Crap, what is? And he had 0. I think he had 0 yards. If I'm remembering,
not good. That is less than 1.
I'll find that in just a moment, fellas.
Okay. While you find that, I will sass Betts for this take. Here's the problem with this, Betts. That is nowhere near low enough for this to be a bold prediction. He is currently ranked in Fantasy Pros consensus at RB19 in PPR and 24 in standard. And I have him ranked in PPR outside the top 24. Ranked. There is no way this is hot enough. You need to make this 36 for me to consider this bold. Then I'll get on board.
It's funny. The fact that when you started talking about Lev Bell as a bold take, I think both Mike and I thought the bold take would be he's back. He is who he was. And if that's the bold side, it's hard to be a bold on the
I have him as a top 12 running back.
You have him as a top 12?
I do.
No,
I do.
No.
Michael, what are you talking about?
I've
got him at
volume.
17.5 PPR.
His volume is just, it will come through again. Adam Gase can say whatever he wants and try and get Frank Gore in here. And by the way, the numbers on Frank Gore were 11 carries inside the 5 he had 2 touchdowns and a grand total of 0 yards.
He went backwards several times.
So I said, Frank Gore sucked with all of those opportunities. And I don't give Lev Bell a pass on what I saw on film. I give the Jets a pass. The team was in shambles. That offensive line was a disaster. Their starting quarterback got mono. What was that, week 2? And maybe we can throw to the injury expert on mono. But here's what I know: when in high school, when someone gets mono, they're not back for months. They are gone. They're not playing an NFL game in 3 weeks. There was 0% chance that Sam Darnold was anywhere close to 80% by the end of the season. So I give the Jets a bit of a pass here. It's on record. I don't like Adam Gase. I don't think he deserves to be a head coach. But Le'Veon Bell and his volume and pass catching, he'll still end up as a top 12 guy.
All right, so Okada, you need to rank which is the spicier take, outside the top 24 or as the RB12, and which is the more higher probability, outside the top 24 or as the RB12.
That's not even hard for me at all. Inside top 12 is spicier and less likely. There's no way in my books.
The upgrade to the offensive line is the way. That's the path to me, because
it has to get so
line
much better.
Well, I mean, nobody is. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but off the top of my head, it feels like nobody has spent more on the position than the Jets have this year. Their offensive line is going to be completely different, which maybe that, now you've got issues of exactly, the continuity and knowing each other and yada yada. But they have certainly made huge efforts to improve the offensive line. That's the path I see for Lev Bell to bounce back. I just don't project it because I don't believe in Gase.
I think we can all agree
That's fair.
on that.
Yeah, no, we don't like Adam Gase. Least hot take of the podcast.
Yes. Classic Mike comes in. He jacks the podcast. He jacks my Lev Bell hot take. But fellas, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Obviously, our listeners know you guys, but tell us more about what's going on with the draft kit. We have partnered as an affiliate with the draft kit. Obviously, we have great things to say about it. They've heard us ramble on about it for shows and shows and shows. Sell our listeners. Why should they buy the Ultimate Draft Kit?
Yeah, the Ultimate Draft Kit. We've been doing this for years. It's obviously proved very accurate, very useful. I remember there was an independent study done. I think it was the previous season on a bunch of different resources, people that won their championships. It was vetted for all the championship winning teams. And then this email went out basically saying, what tools did you use? And it was a complete and utter domination of the Ultimate Draft Kit. This was the thing to build a foundation. We have Betz's injury information in there, but the tools, the resources, the information, they are as good as it gets. We've spent so much time statting out every single player, doing hundreds of player profile videos where you can watch a breakdown of most every major fantasy relevant player and get context behind the rankings, not just the rankings. So are they risky? Are they safe? Is there upside? Is there not? And I think that's and it's tier based. So you go into a draft just building a better foundation for what ends up winning fantasy football championships.
And I would throw in what I'm most proud of about the Ultimate Draft Kit is the product you're buying this year. It's already better than last year. Number one, it's updated all off season, but by updated, I don't just mean rankings. I mean, we go in and we think, what research tools can I add to this right now that will make this thing better? And there's two research tools that I know of because I'm spearheading it, and I'm working with our developer right now that I'm hoping we can get out in the next month or so. But we already have two more tools coming to the product that they're just now part of the product, making it better, making it the best research tool that you can have for the entire summer, the entire draft season.
Yeah, absolutely love it. My favorite thing is just logging into the app every day, and then
Right.
you can just see like the little up arrow, the down arrow, like what's changed as far as player rankings, projections, all that stuff. You guys didn't even mention Matt Harmon's reception perception. The thing is absolutely
he's there as well.
loaded. Go check that out. We have a unique link for you guys. We'll drop it in the podcast description, redshirtsudk.com. And our friends have granted us the code redshirts for 10% off. Seriously,
that
guys,
was nice
go
of us.
buy it. It was so great of you guys. It is awesome. Check it out. Jason, Mike, thank you so much, fellas. Obviously, most people know where to find you, but just in case they don't, let them know. And then obviously for anyone watching on YouTube, let them know your actual Twitter handle.
Yeah, you can find me at Dynasty Beard.
The beard is there.
John's about to get so many followers.
At Jason FFL on all platforms.
And you can find me at FF Hitman, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. And the fantasyfootballers.com that's the hub for the podcast.
New website coming.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes, that's also true.
Ooh.
Stay tuned.
Hot.
For Okada / Matthew Betts. I am Betts / Okada. And for John, the account is at RedShirtsFF Pod. We are back on Friday. We're talking top 12 quarterback rankings. And fellas, I guarantee you, Daniel Jones will be in there for me.
Yes.
Until next time, we are the Red Shirts.